Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to today's video, man. As you can tell from the thumbnail, I have, I think, one of the most expensive deck profiles you guys will ever see. I consider this the new GOAT format, and I'm really excited to highlight this deck. I would say this is around like $20,000 right now, USD, and it is absolutely insane, man. I've been having a lot of blast playing this deck, with friends. You know, it's just been a lot of fun, and I really wanted to showcase you guys this deck in its highest rarity. Just because I was watching Twizz's video, aka Inch 95, and I was just like really impressed by his deck profile, his explanation of the meta. So it's just like really insane, and I was like, I want to do this as a tribute to him, just because I really like his content and a big fan. And yeah, also, of course, if you guys want to learn more about this format, also go check out Yugioh History from Joji Orlando. He's an amazing resource as well to understand retro format. But without further ado, guys, we're gonna jump right into it. All right. So the heart and soul of this format, 2011 YCS Toronto Tengu plants. Right. You can't be playing Tengu plants without playing Tengu, Reborn Tengu, one of the best normal summons in your deck, a card that just eats back row up and just floats continuously. It's such an amazing card, and yeah, it just allows for like crazy synchro plays, floating into extra copies of itself. This card was truly a power card back in the day. Next, we have 3 Thunder King Ryo. 2011 would not, a lot of people would say that's really also defined by Thunder King and how oppressive this card was. Like, just imagine, man, a Thunder Dragon Colossus in 2011. And this card I play at 3, mainly because I realize that this card is so insane. It's so strong. It's really hard to get over because it's 1900 attack, and it's a light monster, which makes it so that BLS is a lot like more alive. This card is just really strong. And I just really liked how it was really good into like the more rogue matchups. It's like pretty decent to like the TG matchups as well, so that they can't search. It just applied so much pressure, being able to negate any special summon. Um, so it's just like a really strong card. And so I should just play it at 3. So that's we have that. Next, we have the one, the only Shatufarfa, 3 tour guide from the underworld. She is an insane card because she was a card that got released, I believe, in Extreme Victory. An expensive card right off the bat in 2011 because it was a card that allowed you to make easy access to rank 3s. And that was like really strong. Of course, the rank 3s you had the same as Leviathan Dragon and Olivier the Sea Dragon. So it's just like a really insane card that just allowed you to make a lot of big power play. And of course, its ability to special summon any fiend from the deck meant that you can easily summon Sangan. And Sangan, of course, was just an insane card, allowing you to, search whatever you need, such as Valors, Maxis, Spear Reaper. A card that just basically search your entire deck to make plays. You can also search your plant engine. These were like really some of like the best normal summons in your deck. So we decided to like max out on these. In terms of the plant engine, of course, Tengu plants. In YCS Toronto format, the ban list that came about actually made it seem like plants was not going to be a very strong deck. We got a lot of the plant engine went to 1. Lone Fire went from 2 to 1, I believe. I believe Dandy went also from 2 to 1. A lot of cards that were really strong in the plant engine, got limited. So we have right here, we have a Spore, a Lone Fire Blossom, a Dandelion, and a Bulb. The Bulb was a really good card because it was a card that if you summoned, you get an extra body anytime you want, allowing you to go into a formal synchron. It can also be a card to be used as tribute fodder for Caius, right? So, it's just like it was really strong card. For that reason, you have Dandelion being able to produce like a lot of tokens to allow like synchro plays. And its effect is, of course, just really crazy because it would trigger whenever it's into the graveyard. So like being able to, Spore, banish a card like Bulb from the graveyard, bring it back, you can like overlay for like a Levier, and then like bring this back, detach this. It just like was really really cool card, and there's like some like really cool plays with it. Lone Fire Blossom was a card that tutored your entire plant engine, and of course like there are hands where you can draw like if you have like Monster Reborn, you can Lone Fire into Dandy, Monster Reborn back to Lone Fire, and then Lone Fire will tribute the Dandy, and then you can make even more like really crazy plays. And then of course Spore, which is a really really crazy card as well, being able to come back as a level 4 tuner by banishing either the Dandy or the Lone Fire Blossom, allowing you to make easy single 8 plays, allowing you to make Tristala, just a really really like crazy power plays you can do with the tuners. So this is like the versatility of the plant engine. Of course, we also have an honorary plant monster. This is Debris Dragon. So Debris Dragon was a really strong card because it was a card that can bring back Maxi, and then that will let you help make Orient Dragon, which can banish your opponents like Synchros. It can bring back any of your plant engine like Lone Fire Blossom to be able to go into Ancient Ferry Dragon or Black Rose. It was a card that can also, like, it was 2,000 defense, so it was a really big booty that you can sometimes search just so you can set it, right? Like, so that your opponent, like, has a really hard outing it, because Thunder Kings is usually 2,000, and they would have to like out it by using cards like Caius or like maybe Econ Take It, Mind Control, etc. So it's just a really really strong card. Of course, like its biggest power play was to bring back a card like Dandy and then trigger Dandy, right? Be able to make Synchro 7, and just really really strong card overall, allowing for a lot of like big power plays. Then we have two of like the best tribute summons in your deck. The only tribute summon in your deck really besides like I guess Gores or BLS, or besides Gores, I guess, if you were like ever that like plays comes up when you want to play around your opponent's Gores and kill them, but that's besides the point. So 2 Kais. If I remember correctly, Billy in his Columbus list added a second Kais, and one of my friends, Christian Urena, actually spoke with Billy recently and said that this was a card that he wished he had 3 of. And why it's such a strong card, right? Because the versatility of this card is like, especially in the plant mirror, you can attack your opponent directly, force out a Gores, and then main phase 2 tribute summon a Kais and then banish their Gores. You can use Kais to out your opponent's Stardust Dragon, right? Which is like this is a banishing removal. It was just like a really good card and has really good tempo swings whenever this card would get itself on the field. 2400 is a really strong number too, because like the Debris Dragon, like I was saying before, when it brings cards back like Maxi, or it brings cards back like Lone Fire Blossom, the highest monster you can make usually is a Black Rose or a Orient Dragon, and no one was playing Iron Chain Dragon. Therefore, it was just like 2400 is just a really hard card to out. So really, really strong card, really versatile card. I really like it a lot. And then we have, of course, Spear Reaper. This was a card that was a card designed to give you a lot of turns, and being able to like stall multiple turns, drawing more cards is just like really really strong. It was also a card that can overlay into like X3 plays, so it was just like really really insane. And then Spear Reaper can also attack your opponent directly, ripping a card out of their hand, potentially ripping out like extra hand traps or like dead cards. So it's just like really really strong. For our hand trap, we're going to be playing 3 Maxi, a very iconic card during this format. This is essentially like really strong in the plant mirror. It was a card that just really didn't it rewarded good use of this card is really rewarding. And then the thing is, like, when you use it correctly, it's such a strong card, because there are, especially in the plant deck in 2011, you can draw Maxi and literally go 1-for-1, which is like okay, but the times where this card is like really really impactful is like using it, for example, on like 1-for-1 Dandy or extending like that. So that was like a lot of the people back then would try to like play around Maxi just because it's like that insane of a card. It was a card that always made your opponent get punished if they try to extend too far, and it got you like really good card advantage. So 3 Maxi, of course. Then we have 2 Effect Veiler. I was convinced to play 2 of this by Christian, so shout out to Christian Urena. So essentially the reason why Veiler is so strong is because it can answer your opponent's Kais, which is a really strong removal. It can stop Tristala. It can help you stop Armory Arm OTK. that you can draw off of Max C, because they usually take the Max C challenge. It was a light monster. It was a level 1 tuner. It was just like a very, very strong card. So I think Effect Veiler definitely warranted. It was basically, I think, the 5th light monster in my deck, alongside like the triple Thunder King, which makes accessing BLS even easier. And yeah, it was just a really, really good card. I never had any complaints. I think Effect Veiler just came clutch for me so many times. I really like it. Then, of course, the last hand trip is Tragodia. So this is very uncommon in 2011, or like people don't really play this card, but I play this card because it's a card that can help you, like, prevent you from dying if your opponent takes a Max C challenge. So sometimes in the Planet Mirror, your opponent gets really desperate and they try to go for like crazy OTKs. Tragodia basically helps that alongside Gore. So I basically wanted to have a second pseudo copy of Gore to allow myself to like not die. The other thing about Tragodia that was really strong is that like it was a card that can like really, it beat your opponent's Thunder King really well. Especially if they just attack you hastily like early on, and like if you have Tragodia, you can drop it and it becomes 3,000 attack and defense, or 2,400. Especially because you would have 6 cards in hand or 5 cards in hand, which is like really, really strong. I really like this card, and I definitely play one of it. It can also modify its level to whatever monster you have in the graveyard. It can take your opponent's monsters. There are plays where you can like pitch Dandy, take your opponent's Sangan, and like just like start making crazy plays with it. Tragodia can become a level 3 because you pitch the Dandy. You can then overlay the Tragodia in your opponent's Sangan to make like the Sea Dragon, which stops your opponent from getting that +1 off of Sangan. So there's just like a lot of really cool plays with this. I really like this card a lot. Of course, we have one Gores. Many old players would know that you always attack with the lowest attack monster first, because of Gores, right? This was a card that made it so that you can never really go for hasty OTKs because you would get severely punished by Gores. It was a card that that when you summon the Gores, you can summon a token there. Because it's level 7, it's really easy to make Synchro 8 plays if they attack in this and doesn't answer this right away. So you always have to be very careful whether or not you attack directly because of your opponent's score. So it's a very, very strong card. And then the last monster in the main deck, this is a BLS Envoy of the Beginning, a card that just struck fear into many people's hearts. BLS and Army Arm was like an OTK combo. BLS, whenever it gets summoned, was just like so scary, man. If you didn't have a way to like stop this card, you probably like lose the game. It was a card that like just turns the tides of battle like really, really fast, and a card that you had to definitely respect and play around, making sure that preemptively DD crowing like your opponent's light monster, or always checking their graveyard to see if they meet the requirements for BLS is something to keep in the back of your head. Like a card that just puts so much pressure. One of like the craziest boss monsters ever. So definitely that. Now for the spells, we're gonna play 2 MST. These are just like really strong generic back row removal, and it was a card that like you can like use to punish your opponent for blind MSCing you, and then you can like pop their back row. It was a card that you can chain to Call of the Haunted. So I mean, instead of the other way around where you go chain 1 Mystic Typhoon, chain 2 Call, you usually wait for them to Call of the Haunted and then MST them, therefore not letting them getting that plus off of Sangan and Call of the Haunted. Like it was a card that can also like just bluff real trap cards, so that if your opponent do try to get rid of it, you can chain in like hit another card, effectively making them go -1. So just a very, very strong card. Other cool interactions is that like sometimes you can MST your own heavy, so that Starlight Road wouldn't summon a Stardust Dragon. So just a lot of really cool plays. This card is really, really good. Generic removal. And then we have 2 enemy controller. This was a card that was really strong at taking your opponent's monster. It can like switch monsters to defense, allowing you to like stay survive for an extra turn. Just a very, very strong utility card. One of the definitely the best spell card in the deck for sure. Then of course, Pot of Avarice, man. This is one of the best cards in the deck as well. You can notice that there's a lot of very generic spells that are very good. That's typically like the format of 2011, like just generically good cards that you play. This is a card that can shuffle back your your plant engine, allowing you to use it multiple times. It can let you shuffle back your tour guides. so that you can normal summon and play with that again. You can shuffle back your Tengus, getting access to those, getting more value, drawing you multiple cards. In some way, people actually, non-ironically, consider this better than Pot of Greed in 2011, a card that was just like so strong. And it is, I believe, it got limited in the September ban list as well. I'm making the plant engine, slightly weaker, but it was just a very good card. And the plant engine was an engine that fueled the graveyard really quickly. So Avarice was very powerful alongside the Tengu. Then we have Scapegoat, a card that can, block a lot of attacks, but then also give you a bunch of tokens to play with on the following turn. So Scapegoat is definitely in there for that reason. We have Dark Hole, basically to, even the playing field. Very strong card. We have a Monster Reborn. This is a LB First Ed Monster Reborn. A very valuable card in my collection right now. And this card turns the tides of battle so quickly, man. Like, the versatility of this card for Synchro plays, XYZ plays, summon back big monsters. Like, in general, just a very strong card. And, it was a card that, like, when used properly, probably meant that you were in a lot of trouble. But it was also a card that helps you, like, even if you don't draw the best, you can, like, bring back your Thunder King that your opponent beat up or anything like that at all. So it's just a very crazy card. We have a Book of Moon. This book is just like so insane, right? Because Book of Moon, it was a card that can made it so that if your opponent has skill drain, you can like go chain 1 Black Rose, chain 2 Book to book it, so that it would wipe your opponent's whole board. Book of Moon was at 1 during this format. But it was probably one of like the craziest power cards. You can also book your opponent's monsters and beat over it, obviously. But it was just like very strong card. And if you use it correctly, it's just like very rewarding. We also have Heavy. This was actually the format that Heavy got unbanned. So Heavy in YCS Toronto format, September 2011, it was when Heavy got unbanned. So it made a lot of like the trap decks worse, but they had to adjust with cards like Starlight Road. But this was a card that you just play to like clear your opponent's board. You can like, obviously pro heavy it, making your opponent think it's a trap card or like an MST, so they don't try to blind it. And it would just like, a card that just equalizes the playing field and helps you like push for a game. Not having to worry about like warnings or judgments and all that good stuff. So it's just very strong. We have 1-for-1, a really good extender, allowing you to get access to allowing you to get access to, your bulbs. It also allows you to get access to Spore. Like, sometimes you summon a Veiler. Just really depends on the situation. If you need like a light monster, for example. So it's really good. Foolish Burial, very versatile card. You can send a light monster to get BLS live. You can send Bulb, send Spore. You can send like your Plant Engine, which helps you get access to that. So just a very versatile card as well. Mind Control, a crazy power card that lets you take your opponent's monster. And why that was like so strong, because you start using synchro summoning with your opponent's monsters. So not only do you get value out of make them lose a card, but you get to like go even more plus. So it's just a very strong card. It's at 1 during this format for a reason. Just very versatile as well. And then for the trap cards, we have Judgment. It's a card that just says no, so your opponent can't play. But it's mainly used to like stop your opponent's crazy power spells, or sometimes just negating summons. Like this card, which is like very versatile as well and very strong. It was at 1 during this format, and then we have 2 warnings. This was a card that like you sometimes warning your opponents. Tristala, warning your opponent's Thunder King if you don't have an answer to it, warning your opponent's Tengu, just because it's that problematic. This card was just so powerful at making sure that your opponent don't go basically infinite in terms of card advantage, and this card warning helps equalize that with the small cost of 2,000 life points. Very strong card. We have Call of the Haunted. This card I wasn't sure if I really wanted to play or not, but I was convinced to by Christian. Basically, this card is basically a monster reborn, and especially with the cards like if your opponent do have like MSC and they try to blind into it, you can like reborn back a Dandy to get like free tokens, or you can reborn back Sangan and get like the search. So it's just like a very Good card. And helps you also like go for a game randomly and helps you extend your synchro plays even further, getting that extra body on the field for you. So I definitely like it. And then we have Torrential Tribute. You guys already know I love this card. I play this in a lot of like current format decks. And yeah, Torrential Tribute is a card that helps you equalize the playing field. And if they don't play, if they play into it, it will go +3, +4. Insane. So really, very good card. We have Mirror Force. This was a card that wasn't normally played in like the Tengu Plan deck, but I decided to play because I feel like because everyone's just copying Billy's deck, no one really plays around Mirror Force, which is a reason why I wanted to play it, just so that they can get really punished if they don't play around this card. So I just put one in the main deck for that reason. And then the last card, a card that I don't think can ever come back. Trap Dust Shoot, man. This card is absolutely insane. This card was at 1 during this format. Looking at your opponent's card in their hand, ripping a card out, and just getting full hand knowledge. Back in 2011, if you guys don't know, you're allowed to actually write down your opponent's hand on a piece of paper. And that was totally allowed. So like once you activate Trap Dust Shoot, you can keep track of all their spells, all their monsters, their traps, and etc. And then play around everything. So it's just like this was a card that just raised your win percentage really, really high once it resolves. So it was just an insane card that you just played for that reason, you know. So that's pretty much it for the main deck. And now we're going to get into the extra deck. So I'm going to start from Synchro 9s all the way down. So we have Tristala, a very iconic card. A card that I believe actually got limited by this time. Obviously, I don't think people were summoning multiples. At least I don't think so. But it was a card that was very strong because it banishes, right? So Tristala banishes from the hand, the graveyard, and on the field. So this was really crucial because you can banish like light monsters in your opponent's graveyard, making their BLS dead. You can like snipe a Gores, which is very strong. You can like banish Sangans on the field, so it wouldn't trigger. Banishing your opponent's Dandy on the field, so it wouldn't get its effect. Like it was just a very good card. It was non-targeting removal, and you already know like this card is just like really, really strong. We have Scrap Dragon, one of the best Synchro 8s that you can go into. This card is really, really insane. Because basically when you can make this and have Dandy tokens, you can pop your own tokens and pop the back row. You can also like go Scrap Dragon, target your back row, chain MST, pop another back row. Like it was just like a very, very strong card that helps you like go for game. You can also a way that you played around your opponent's Gores would like you would basically attack them, and then if they summon a Gores, you can go main phase 2, make Scrap, use Scrap Dragon to pop their Gores. So like it was just a really good flexible card. And it was a card that also, if unanswered, will just continuously pop your card, your opponent's cards, and just like go for lethal. So it's just like very, very insane. Then we have a very iconic card of the 5Ds era, Stardust Dragon. Honestly, one of the most beautiful cards I own in my collection, and a card that is just so iconic, right? Being able to negate Dark Hold, negate MST, negate Torrential Tribute, negating Bottomless, because I believe Bottomless destroys and then banish. It was a card that like just basically answered a lot of the problems or removal that people had during this format, and your opponent had to like answer this with cards like Mind Control, Econ, or like they would have to like Kais it. It was just a card that like required a lot of resources to out, and it was not easy to out this card. It was just very, very strong, and yeah, Stardust Dragon. Of course, it wouldn't be fair to talk about Stardust Dragon if we don't also mention Black Rose Dragon, right? A very also iconic card. Shout out to Akiza, that just equalizes the playing field as a card that was always super threatening, right? If your opponent had the ability to make this card like and wipe and nuke the entire board, it was always very scary. But the craziest thing about this card too is that like it can also switch your opponent's monsters to attack mode, making it easier to OTK your opponent. If they have cards like, for example, Spirit Reaper, you can move Spirit Reaper to attack mode, and then you can just attack with everything, playing around Gores as well, right? Like if they had the Spirit Reaper and attacking multiple times while the monster's at 0. So very, very strong card, allowing OTKs, allowing board wipes, board nukes. It's just very, very strong. Next we have Ancient Ferry Dragon. So this card was a card that was a light monster. It was a card that helps you extend synchro plays. You give up your battle phase, but it was still worth it if you wanted to combo with it. Be able to summon like a Spore or a Dandy from your hand, and then like making synchro 8 plays. Also against like Gravekeepers, if that was a thing in the meta, like you can also like pop their field spell, even though we don't play any. Gain that 1,000 life points, and it was also like just generically a big booty. Like 3,000 defense was nothing to scoff at during this time. So just a very strong card as well, and very good flexible card. Next we have Brinac. This card was a non-target. It was a targeting removal. Or actually it was not. I believe before the errata, this card was non-targeting. But the thing that this card was very strong was it was non-destruction removal, so that it can answer your opponent's Stardust Dragon, right? Be able to like bounce the Stardust Dragon back into the extra deck. It can bounce the back row and help you go for lethal. You can main phase 2, brio your opponent's gore, so put it back in their hand, and then go for game next turn. It's just like a very strong card. I really like it, and it's very flexible in general. We have Catastro, one of the Synchro 5s of this format. This was a card that can attack and destroy basically non-darks, and that was really relevant because if you've noticed, a lot of like sometimes you end and pass on cards like Ancient Ferry Dragon or Brinac, or you pass on like Scrap Dragon, right? Catastro was a card that can like out Scrap Dragon, out Tristala, out Brio. So very good Synchro 5 that was just very flexible in outing some of like the boss monsters, or like the big monsters of the format. So there's that. Next, TG Hyper Librarian, man. This card is insane, allowing you to net a lot of card advantage. It would also trigger whenever a monster is synchro summoned, including your opponent's monster, right? So they also have to be wary whenever they try to synchro summon into this card, when this card's on the field, because this card would get you and net a lot of card advantage. And yeah, it was just a very strong, powerful card that got you a lot of free pluses. So very good card. 2,400 monster as well, nothing to scoff at. We then have Armory Arm. This was a card that enabled OTKs. It was a card that lets you basically play around gores just because of how much damage you can do with this. Weirdly enough, your opponent can actually gores you when you inflict damage them with Armory Arm. Some cool interactions that might come up there, but Armory Arm gave the monster 1,000 attack. It was just a very powerful card, and can it was like a potential of, it was something that you can consider making when adjusting the board. So it was just really nice to have Synchro 4s here, and there was no really good Synchro 4s in the format, so you wanted to just play as very generic Synchros as possible, just because of the situations that can come up with these. And then for the last Synchro, Formula Synchron, a card that you can make to draw an extra card, and it's also like its ability to Synchro Summon during your opponent's turn is very strong, because you can Synchro Summon into Black Rose during your opponent's turn when you have Formula Synchron and you have a Hyper Librarian, which is a very common end board. You can also like tag out into like a Formula Armory Arm. It was just like a card that you can tag out into so like Stardust Dragon your opponent's turn, sometimes even trishing your opponent on their turn. It was just like a really cool card. So I definitely like Formula Synchron a lot. The last card that I don't have yet, that I haven't mentioned, is basically the level 6 Dragon Synchro, which banishes your opponent's Synchro monster. I forgot the name of the card, but I don't own that card yet. It's in the mail still, but so shout out to Henry from YBM for that. So that'll be there soon. Yeah, Orient Dragon. So I'm missing that Synchro right now from my extra deck, but thankfully has not come up for me yet. But yeah, that's something to definitely consider as well, so don't forget that card, guys. Next, the last XCs we play, there's only 4. We have Utopia. It's a light monster. It's 2,500 attack, so it's very hard to out. And it was a card that can negate attack, so it gave you like extra turns. It can block attacks. So very strong card. Definitely a card that was a force to be reckoned with. It was a card that sometimes you can make because you would mind control your opponent's Tengu, and you don't want it to hit the graveyard, right? So, or to be sent from the field to the grave. So you would mind control your opponent's Tengu and then overlay it with like cards like level 4s that you would have, like for example your Thunder King, and then make this, right, making sure that they don't get the ability to summon multiple Tengu. So there's just a card that was very good flex spot. Then you have Steel Swarm Roach. It wasn't like the most amazing card against the Plant Mirror, but it was really good against, like, for example, the Ancient deck. The Agent deck. And it has other applications against other decks as well. But it was a card that's for its flexibility. You would just want to have it in there. And I believe it actually won Billy the finals. I think either in Columbus or Toronto. So it was a card that I put in there anyways to have it. The last two XYZs is we have Leviathan Dragon. It was a card that you normally make turn 1 with Tour Guide if you choose to. So have a 2500 turn 1 and can go up to 3000, which means they can answer your opponent's like Stardust and Scrap Dragon and Tristalas, right? So it's very, very strong card and can get really, really big. So it's just like an insane card that you definitely had to be wary of. And it was a very hard card to out if your opponent just went Leviathan Dragon pass. Because they can't just go normal summon Thunder King, right? Because the thing is, if you're to normal summon Tour Guide and just sit on a Sangan, you get heavily punished if your opponent just normal Thunder King and attacks your Sangan. So you sometimes go Tour Guide into Tour Guide to make Leviathan Dragon as a potential play as well. And then the last rank 3 is the Olivier the Sea Dragon. So this was a card that was really flexible because it can bring back any level 4 or lower banished monster. Why is that important? Well, sometimes your opponent gets access to their plant engine earlier than you, and most of the time they have to banish their Lone Fire to summon back the Spore. So the Leviathan Dragon, you can actually summon it and then take your opponent's Lone Fire, summon back the Lone Fire, and then prio the Lone Fire away to like get access to your plant engine. So it's a very flexible card that you can summon with Tour Guide. Sometimes you make it with Spirit Reaper and another level 3, and allowed you to just basically get access to like plant engine. It can also summon back your Thunder King if it got banished by your opponent's Caius. It was a very, very strong card and very flexible. So always keep track of the banished pile and check. Because this card has the ability to bring it back and allow you to go into like some really crazy plays. So that's pretty much like the extra deck, guys. And now we're going to the side deck. I did build a side deck for this. So I'll show you guys what I have in mind. It definitely has room to improve. But this is what I'm playing right now. I played the third MST in the side deck. Just really good against more of like the trap decks and very good flex card. I like it a lot, just sliding this in against like some of the more rogue matchups with good back row. For a Plant Mirror, sometimes I put in Debunk. I think it was a really good card because it can answer your opponent's Tragodia, answer their Gores. It can also like answer your opponent's Tengus. It can like negate their Plant Engine. It can also like negate Maxis when you ever want to go for a big push. Which is a really good card. So I decided to play 2. And then I also side into like for like some of the more anti-meta decks. I wanted to side into like some of my own anti-meta cards just because they would be really good if they expected. Like I would side out the Plant Engine and then side in some of these just because a lot of the cards they put in like the Maxis or like the Veilers won't be as strong. And basically they're putting in dead cards against the matchup. So cards like Deep Prisons are very strong. Banishing your opponent's Thunder King is really, really nice. And then of course we also have like 2 bottomless, like just more flex cards that are just very, very good anti-meta, like to answer some of your like the TG decks or something like that floats on destruction. Bottomless and Deep Prison is just like really, really good ways to answer that. So I decided to play 2 and 2 and have that in. I also have 2 DD Crow for the Plant Mirror because it's really good against average. It stops at it stops your opponent's average. It stops your opponent's Plant Engine. It was a card that removes the light monster from your opponent's graveyard in case they need to like summon BLS. It was just a very flexible card overall, so I just wanted to have at least 2 DD Crows in here. It was also like a really good card against the hero deck too because you can DD Crow your opponent's the Hero Blast target, and then they won't be able to resolve the Hero Blast to pop a card. So just like really, really good card, very flexible card. I like it a lot. Next we have Zane's True Dales himself. Boom, boom, boom. The triple Cyber Dragon. One of the most iconic, monster in the game. Like, it's a card that basically lets you go second and summon a really, really big body for free, essentially. And yeah, there's just not much to really say about it. It was just like so strong. 2100. It was also a light monster that made it easier for you to make BLS with. It was a level 5, so like it was easier for you to go into like Brio or Orient Dragon. It was just an insane card. And it's a card that also gave you access to the Chimera tech. So if you played against Karakuris or you play against your opponent's Cyber Dragons, you can contact fuse into the Chimera Fortress Dragon. Another play that also commonly came up was if your opponent ever made Catastro Dragon, Catastro Dragon, as well as Formless Synchron, as well as Armory Arm, were all machine monsters, as well as us, were all machine monsters. So that meant that you can summon Cyber Dragon into those boards and then contact fuse with it to make Chimera attack the Forest Dragon, which was like an easy board wipe. So it's just very strong overall. So there's that. And then the last 2 cards I've been trying out is Snowman Eater. I've been really liking this card because it's 2900 defense, and 2900 was not an easy booty to get over in Tengu plant format, especially in the mirror match. Tengu couldn't really beat it, and there's just like 8 Tengu. It also, the reason why Snowman Eater was also so strong was because it can pop your opponent's Thunder King if they weren't like too sure about it. And Snowman Eater was also a level 3. So being a level 3 means that it can overlay into like Sea Dragon or Leviathan Dragon after you're done with it. So it's just like very strong card overall. And the other cool thing about Snowman Eater is that it's just like a big booty. That's like the main premise of it. And I really like it to answer my opponent's Thunder King because that card is very problematic. Answering trading to the Cyber Dragon is also like really neat. So a very strong card for sure. And guys, that pretty much covers the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed it, as well as the explanation and what I'm currently playing for my Tengu plant format. I've really been enjoying this retro format, and I honestly think this is like the new gore format. It's just like very skillful. I've learned a lot about Yugioh playing this deck. I also learned a lot about card advantage, about managing my resources, about how to play old format and how different it is from modern. So I highly encourage you guys to give this a try for sure. And yeah, definitely build this deck. I know I have it in like very high rarity for sure, but you can also build this like relatively really cheap. A lot of these cards got reprinted and come common now. But if you guys enjoyed this video, if you guys enjoy the rarity, the tribute to like the retro formats, the relics of the past, then definitely consider giving this video a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on like my deck and how you may think I might make it better. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.